This play wins 90% of the time in the NFL, and I'm going to show you how to find it in this video. Now make sure you guys stay to the end of this video because I'm going to show you the websites that you need to obtain the information that I teach you. Now most people are going to hear 90% and they're going to think there's no way there's a play that hits actually 90% of the time. But I'm here to tell you that this has been tracked, and I'm going to show you guys and teach you exactly how you could find this play. Now there's not 100 of them on any given Sunday, but you will be able to find one each week. So let's go ahead and start with the first thing. First thing is, what type of bet is this? So the bet is going to be a QB alternate touchdown passes. Alright, so what does this mean? It means he's got to throw a touchdown pass. That's what the bet is. You're looking for the alternate number over 0.5. Alright, that means he has to throw one touchdown. He throws one touchdown, you win the bet. Sounds simple, right? But there's a little bit more that goes into that, because you have to be able to find the right formula to be able to find the exact play that's going to hit at 90 to almost 100% of the time. So what you want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and look for opponents allowed TD passes per game. Now what does this stat mean? This means how many touchdown passes the defense gives up on average per game. Now at the end of the video, I'm going to show you guys what website you could find this information, so it makes it a little bit easier on you. Now once you're able to find this information, what you're looking for is you're looking for the teams that give up 1.7 or more. 1.7 or more average touchdown passes per game. Now on average, you're probably going to find about, I'd say about 5 teams. You're going to have about 5 teams that are going to be in this range right here. They're going to have 1.7 or higher. Now once you have did that, you're going to go ahead and you're going to write down the opposing quarterbacks that are facing those 5 teams. Okay, so write down opposing QBs versus those 5 teams. So that should give you a list of the QBs, or like I said, any given Sunday that's coming up. Should give you a list of 5 quarterbacks. Now, doesn't mean that you could just go randomly and bet those quarterbacks to throw one touchdown. That's not what that means. Because now we have to further filter that list to get it down to maybe 1, maybe 2. If you guys want me to send you the plays that fit this criteria of everything that I teach you day in and day out, all you gotta do is click the link in the description, where I'll send you the plays each and every day alongside with the teachings, so you know exactly how to come up with these plays for yourself. Now before we get to the next step, something that is very important. I want to go ahead and circle the actual play here. Like I said, it's over 0.5, because sometimes people will try to stretch it and they'll go to the next option, which is going to be probably 1.5, and guess what? The probability and the matchup doesn't make sense at that level. So it has to be strictly this play right here, because if you're trying to stretch it because you're trying to get better odds or whatnot, you will put yourself at a negative edge. Alright, so just make sure that when I am teaching you a certain play, you have to find that exact play. You cannot vary, you cannot stretch it. You have to find the exact play that I'm showing you to make it work. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and filter out if you have any rookie quarterbacks on that list. If you have any rookie QBs on that list, put an X on them. Alright, we're not going to look at those guys whatsoever. If we have any backup QBs because the main QB's hurt, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put an X through them as well. Alright, so we're not looking at rookie quarterbacks, we're not looking at backup quarterbacks. We want the main quarterback that's the main guy on that team, and we know that he is the man to be under center. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to run that quarterback that is remaining, which is probably 2 or 3 of them maybe, because you'll probably find 1 or 2 of these in that list. But the 2 or 3 that are remaining, you're going to run the stats on that quarterback versus the similar defenses from those 5 teams that you had written down. So run stats versus the 5 teams you have down. Now what you're looking for here is you're looking for the QB to have a probability rate of 90% to 100%. So 90% and above, okay? You're looking for 90% and above versus the 5 teams that you have written down. Those are the teams that allow 1.7 or more touchdown passes per game. So you could even early on in a season go back to the previous season and run the numbers as well. Because what you're doing is now you are having a quarterback, or maybe a couple quarterbacks, that have a 90% or greater probability to throw for 1 touchdown in a game going against a defense that allows at least 1.7 or more touchdown passes per game. That's giving yourself an extremely high probability. Now, what are the odds that correlate with a certain play when you find like this? Yes, they're going to be high, but I'm going to explain to you why you don't have to be scared of the higher odd. Because let's say, for example, the odd is minus 350, all right? That's an implied probability of 77%. Now, if your quarterback is 90% of the time throwing for 1 touchdown against those type of defenses, and that's a defense that he's playing on Sunday, now you've gave yourself a plus 13% edge, all right? Now that is just literally at 90%. There's some that actually have 100%, which doubles this up a little bit, all right? Gives you 23%, all right? So there are plays like this every single Sunday. And like I said, people are like, oh, 90%, maybe that doesn't make sense. But this is probability, and you can't fight probability when it lines up. When a QB has a great matchup against a defense that allows touchdown passes, guess what? It's a recipe for him to throw at least 1 touchdown pass. And you create yourself an edge. Like I said before, doesn't mean you can just go randomly play quarterbacks to throw for 1 touchdown. It has to make sense. The odds have to correlate. The implied probability versus the true probability has to make sense to create that edge for you to be able to do this long term and do this at least once every week. Now, what websites do you use to find this information? So to find the opposing teams giving up the allowed touchdown passes, you would go to Team Rankings. And if you guys watch some of my other videos, you probably know that we use this a couple times. All right, so you'd go to Team Rankings, and then you'd go to Pass Defense. Okay, Pass Defense, and then under Pass Defense, you'll see it says opponents, passing, TDs. All right, and that's where you'll find that list each and every week. Obviously, it gets updated every week, but that's where you'll find that list. All right, then to find the percent, this is the easier part. To find the percent for the quarterback to see if he's in the 90% range or higher, what you could do is there's multiple areas you could use here. All right, you could even use ESPN. All right, you can go to ESPN stats and just pull up QB stats that you're looking at. All right, for either the current year or the previous year if you're just starting out, in a new year. And literally go through and compare those 5 teams, like I said, the 5 teams or maybe more, depending on how many are on that list, and compare how many times they've played that quarterback that you have written down and how many times they've passed for over 1 touchdown. And like I said, you'll be surprised to find sometimes it's 100% of the time. So you should find 90% to up to 100%. And that right there is how you're able to find a play in the NFL that hits 90% of the time.